The Master of Mankind was never the only one who called himself the Emperor of Humanity. Well, in the storyline of 40k, there have been quite a few others that have asserted their claim of authority over humanity in this setting, but none of them, even though they have ruled quite a few systems, star systems, have they rose to the level of the God Emperor. Even the Primarchs were sort of emperors before their rediscovery, but you know the story, that's neither here nor there. Here in this video we will showcase 3 false human emperors aside from the true one, and how they met their end at the hands of the Primarchs. So let's get to them. The first one is the Emperor of 6319. In the novel Horus Rising, we encounter an Emperor of Humans. This story is tied to the Battle of 6319 during the 203rd year of the Great Crusade. The story is remembered because it feels strangely ironic when compared to the final battle of the Horus Heresy. The 63rd Expeditionary Fleet did not even plan to go there at first. They were pushed off course by a dangerous warp storm and accidentally entered a star system with 9 planets going around a yellow sun. When they arrived, people from the 3rd planet contacted the fleet, and the shocking part was that they spoke proudly in the name of the Emperor of Mankind, saying that he was the true ruler of all humans everywhere. These people called their world Terra, and they claimed it to be the center of their own Imperium of Mankind, as if they were the real heart of humanity. Their emperor acted confident and powerful, saying that he had been guiding and protecting humanity for a long time, keeping them alive through dark ages and preparing them for a future golden age where everything would be rebuilt. He sounded pleased and excited to discover other humans traveling in space, because it meant that humanity was not really as scattered and lost as he thought. But even though he said that he wanted peace and diplomacy, he demanded something first. He insisted that the fleet must bow to him, show loyalty and swear fealty, because he believed it was his to rule every human being no matter where they came from. This made the situation tense because the Imperium that the fleet belonged to already served its own emperor, and now they had found a world claiming to be another heart of humanity, another one, another Earth, another Terra. As you would expect from a compliance mission of the Great Crusade, this resistance to join the larger Imperium, the true one, turned into a fierce battle, a fierce conflict. The 63rd Expeditionary Fleet fought and defeated the space forces of World 6319 after the false Imperium refused to submit. Above the planet, starships traded heavy fire, with explosions and wrecks filling orbit while the main invasion force moved forward. On the ground, the Lunar Wolves followed their tradition of drawing lots to decide who would fight, and 4 companies were chosen, and they were led by Captains Abaddon, Torgadon, Axeman and Garvey Loken, with Abaddon in overall command. The Titans also strode across the battlefield, blasting apart city defenses while assault craft screamed overhead, allowing the Astartes to break into the capital. Each company was given a clear task. Some secured government centers and the lower city, while the main thrust pushed towards the Imperial Palace, the heart of the enemy's power. And Captain Garvey Loken's 10th Company was the first to break inside, forcing its way through the gates and corridors under constant fire. Inside the palace, the fighting became brutal and close. Garvey Loken pushed ahead with his squads, disabling automated weapons and fighting through ambushes by the Emperor's elite guards, warriors hidden by stealth fields and highly advanced armor. Though they caused losses, they could not match the strength, speed and endurance of the Space Marines. And by chance and speed, Loken reached the throne room before Abaddon and found the so-called Emperor offering to surrender, but only to the highest commander. But however, this proved to be a deception. The one there was actually just an old man, a fake one of the fake Emperor. And when the fake Emperor was exposed and killed, the real one of 6319 revealed himself, activating a powerful gravitic weapon hidden within a throne that tore the chamber apart and killed many of the warriors inside. At that moment, Horus himself arrived by teleportation, quickly understanding the situation and ended it without hesitation. With a single shot from his Storm Bolter, he killed the Emperor and shut down the weapon. And with their ruler dead, the resistance collapsed, and the false terror of 6319 was brought fully under Imperial control. What was strange though was the aftermath, as this Emperor of Mankind was buried in a state funeral organized by Horus, and even Rogel Dawn and 2 companies of Imperial Fist that had been traveling with the 63rd Fleet attended the Emperor's state funeral. Well, this false emperor at least. Now the next one is the Pale Emperor. So very few people know the story of the Pale Emperor. No official historians or remembrancers, as they are known here in this setting, ever recorded it in poems or in images, and it was never turned into a famous legend by the Imperium. Instead, the tale survives only in quiet conversations amongst the White Scars themselves, usually told when others underestimate the great Khan's skill in war or forget the dangerous edge hidden beneath his easy smile. Over time, the story had been changed and decorated by those who tell it, with each brotherhood adding its own details, kinda like Chinese whispers. Even so, at the heart of every version lies the same truth. No matter who tells the tale or how it is shaped, its central meaning remains unchanged. So this is from the 8th Horus Heresy book called Malevolence. Here we find the White Scars out near the edge of space, the far edge of space of the galaxy, with their Primarch Jagathai Khan leading them. This was late in the Great Crusade, when the Imperium was still spreading across the galaxy. In that dark, dangerous region, they found a few small human worlds. These people were descendants of ancient Terrans and, surprisingly, they had built strong cities and good technology even after long years of trouble and, living through the age of strife. The Khan first tried to speak peacefully, offering them a chance to join the Imperium without bloodshed. But instead of welcoming him, the people treated the White Scars like enemies and attacked their fleet in space. Although the ships of these humans were battle-hardened and technologically at par, they were still too few compared to the White Scars' many powerful cruisers. After a short battle, the enemy ships were badly damaged and burning. Still, the Khan respected their courage and allowed them to retreat instead of destroying them completely. Then the White Scars landed troops on the planet, coming down into the cold northern plains near their cities. There, thousands of White Scars fought the planet's defenders. The enemy's heavy armor could resist many of the White Scars' lighter weapons, like using rare technology from the Dark Age of technology, but they could not keep up with the White Scars' speed. Instead of charging straight in, the White Scars' Vanguard or Scimitar jet bikes raced around the battlefield, outflanking and harassing the slow war machines, striking at weak points, cables, and vulnerable points. Once individual enemies were isolated, the rest of the White Scars brought up their heavy weapons and vehicles to cripple them one by one. Leading this charge was Jagathai Khan himself, matching the towering armored foes in strength but far faster than their targeting systems. Inspired by him, the White Scars finished the battle by cutting down the enemy war engines one at a time. After victory, the Khan spared their cities and showed mercy, choosing 3 of his proven warriors as ambassadors to deliver his message to the ruler, who is known there as the Pale Emperor. And the message was to comply, to serve the true Emperor and prosper, or to resist and be destroyed. This Pale Emperor isn't described like a fully recorded historical figure with a known face, name, or heraldry. He was the ruler of a small, isolated human realm at the edge of known space, a man defined by less by his name or face than by his pride. He commanded elite warriors clad in immense ancient battle plates and ruled from a gilded palace, seated upon a throne that symbolized his absolute authority. His most fateful act was the execution of Jagathai Khan's 3 emissaries, sent in good faith as symbols of respect and peace. Their mutilated bodies returned to the White Scars, and they were an insult and a declaration of war. In response, the White Scars unleashed a campaign of utter destruction. Cities were burned, worlds were scoured, and the Pale Emperor's domain was reduced to ash as the Legion carved a path straight to his throne world. There, his finest armies and war engines were annihilated, his palace breached, and everyone within slain, save for this emperor himself. And when the Khan finally confronted him, the Pale Emperor was found cornered alone in the throne, a throne that he had valued above the lives of his subjects. Rather than killing him, the Khan chose a harsher punishment, to leave him alive, alone, amidst the ruins of his empire, a warning for the price of pride. And now we head to the third one, the last one, the Tyrant of Dulan. The third one here is encountered in a novel called Leman Russ, the Great Wolf. Here we find a man called Durath, who is also called the Tyrant of Dulan. He was the powerful emperor of a human civilization known as Dulanians, and effectively the leader of their military force that was called the Fash. During the Great Crusade, When the Imperium was trying to unite all human worlds, Durath refused to join. He believed that he was the reason his people had survived, and he claimed that he had guided them out of an age of horrors, bringing them from barbarism into safety and progress. By the time the Imperium came for him, Durath was extremely old and weak, and he could only stay alive because 100 surgeons worked on him daily. Even so, he was not afraid. He mocked the Imperium openly, sending taunting messages and even showing picked feats of captured Imperial troops to insult and intimidate them. The Dulanian civilization was highly advanced, with strong technology and a strict, harsh belief system. They hated anything they considered impure, such as aliens, xenos, mutants or heretics, and saw themselves as enlightened and superior. Their armies were made of regular soldiers wearing carapace armor and using las guns, along with strong mech gods called scarabines, who wore heavy, powerful armor like suits and built-in weapons and shielding. Their main world was called Dulan, the throne world of their realm, and its name even meant Earth in their own language. Dulan was not just one planet, but the center of a small empire that reached into nearby star systems. In the end, the Imperium attacked Dulan in the Dulan campaign, and the Dulanians were defeated and wiped out by the combined strength of the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels. So in this campaign, when they caught this Tyrant of Dulan, the Lion, the Primarch of the Dark Angels, was there, but Leman Russ was missing somewhere else. Having given his brother enough time during the end stages of the Siege of Dulan and somehow was unable to make contact, he personally decided to enact the teleport strike into the Tyrant's throne room with his paladins. There he met the Tyrant alone and had a brief conversation with this frail old emperor. The Lion stood as the agent of the Imperium, cold and immovable, declaring that Dulan now belongs to the Emperor of Mankind and that its ruler must submit or be judged. The Tyrant, who was ancient, fragile and barely human at all, kept alive by constant surgery, challenged the Lion's claim of enlightenment, pointing to the destruction around them and arguing that his people followed him willingly, believing the Imperium to be the true oppressor. He insisted that he guided his civilization out of ages of horror and that without him, they would fall back into emptiness, just as he believes the Imperium itself may one day face an enemy that it cannot defeat. The Lion then responds without anger, saying that history, unity and the Emperor's vision makes resistance meaningless, and he offers Durath one final chance to surrender and save his people. So Durath refuses. Instead, he spoke with pride and as if he had choice and the value of standing firm even in certain defeat, claiming that in resisting the Imperium, his people had proven who they truly are. In the end, when the Lion asks one last time if he will yield, the Tyrant answers not with words of submission, but by drawing a dagger. The Lion took this as an end to diplomacy and ended the old man with a single swing of the Lion sword, and thus ended the Dulanian resistance. And so those are the 3 human emperors that were defeated or killed or at least humiliated by the Primarchs during the Great Crusade. And now with that, we come to the end of this video. Now do hit the like button for support, and also for the ones holding their phones in their hands, do hit the hype option to push this content further. Also subscribe to be a part of Legion Nutbug. And till the next time, take care, boys.